Okay, so imagine this. You're stuck in your mid-20s, drowning in student loans, barely making ends meet each month. Homeownership feels like a distant dream in retirement. Well, let's not even go there.
I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling.
For sure. But what if I told you there's a system, a proven method used by high earners that could potentially help you double your savings in just 6 months?
Really?
And the best part, no extreme budgeting or giving up your daily coffee is required.
That sounds too good to be true, so no more avocado toast.
You can keep your avocado toast. It's not about deprivation. It's about working smarter, not harder.
I like the sound of that.
This system, which we'll be exploring in detail today, leverages the power of psychology.
Psychology.
Yep. Understanding how our minds work when it comes to money, and then using that knowledge to our advantage.
So it's like a mental hack for financial success.
Exactly. Sign me up, right? But before we get into the nitty-gritty, can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Sure. What's that?
The current financial landscape. It feels like a bit of a roller coaster, to say the least.
You're not wrong. The pandemic inflation and the rapid rise of financial technology have created a complex and often unpredictable environment for anyone trying to build wealth.
Yeah, you've got the pandemic, which has had a very uneven impact, right? Some sectors and individuals are thriving, while others are still struggling to recover.
Absolutely. And then there's inflation steadily chipping away at our purchasing power. It's no wonder so many people are feeling financially squeezed these days.
Yeah, a recent study found that almost 70% of Americans couldn't cover a $1,000 emergency expense.
Wow, that's a pretty sobering statistic.
It really is. It highlights just how important it is to have effective saving strategies in place.
For sure. Now, while the rise of fintech offers some promising tools for managing finances, things like budgeting apps and robo-advisors.
Yeah, those can be super helpful.
They can be. But we also need to acknowledge the digital divide and the fact that not everyone has equal access to these technologies or feels comfortable using them.
That's a great point. Not everyone is tech savvy or has reliable internet access for that matter. So we've got this complex financial landscape to navigate. And on top of that, we're battling our own psychology when it comes to saving money.
Yeah, it's not always easy to resist that impulse purchase or think about long-term financial goals when there are so many immediate demands on our wallets.
Exactly. It can feel like you're constantly fighting against temptation. And that's where understanding the psychology of money becomes so important.
I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, it's all about recognizing those cognitive biases, those mental shortcuts our brains take that can sometimes lead to less than optimal financial decisions.
Oh, I think we're all guilty of that sometimes.
Yeah.
What are some examples of those biases?
Well, there's present bias, for starters. I know I should be saving for retirement, but that new gadget or weekend getaway always seems so much more tempting in the moment.
Oh, yeah, I totally get that. It's like that instant gratification monkey on your shoulder.
Exactly. We tend to overvalue immediate gratification, and it affects not just our spending habits, but our saving behavior too. Another common bias is anchoring bias.
Anchoring bias. What's that?
It's where we get fixated on a particular piece of information, like our starting salary, and it influences our future financial decisions.
So if my first job paid me a lower salary, I might be more likely to accept lower offers later on, even if I've gained experience and skills that warrant a higher pay.
Precisely. You got it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's loss aversion, which can be a big one.
Loss aversion? What is that?
It's that fear of losing money that can make people overly cautious, even in situations where taking a calculated risk could lead to significant gains.
So it's like people hoarding cash instead of investing it, even though inflation is eroding its value.
Exactly. They'd rather play it safe, even if it means losing money in the long run.
Wow, so awareness of these biases is the first step, right? But how do we actually rewire our brains, so to speak, and make saving money feel less like a chore and more like a natural part of our lives?
That's the million-dollar question. One really effective strategy is to set SMART goals.
SMART goals. I've heard of those. What does that stand for again?
Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Right. Okay, I remember now.
So instead of vaguely saying, I want to save more, you'd set a concrete goal, like, I will save $100 per week for the next 6 months for a down payment on a house.
Got it. So it's about making the goal feel more tangible and manageable.
Exactly. And that's a key principle behind the system we're exploring today, the 6-month savings accelerator.
Okay, I'm definitely ready to unpack this 6-month savings accelerator. What are some of the core strategies that make this system so effective?
One of the foundational strategies is automating and simplifying saving.
Okay, that makes sense. A lot of people get overwhelmed by large, long-term goals.
Right. So we break those goals down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
So instead of focusing on saving $10,000, you'd break it down to, say, saving $416 per month for 2 years.
Exactly. And the key is to automate that saving process. Yeah. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to a dedicated savings account each payday.
So you don't even have to think about it.
Exactly. It's like putting your savings on autopilot. Out of sight, out of mind, but steadily growing in the background.
I like it. What about budgeting? That's often a sticking point for people.
Budgeting is crucial, but it doesn't have to be a dreaded chore. The key is awareness.
Awareness.
Most of us have leaks in our budget that we're not even aware of. So track your spending for a month and categorize everything. You'll be amazed at what you discover.
I can imagine I probably spend way more on coffee than I realize.
It happens to the best of us. Then it's about creating a realistic budget that aligns with your financial goals. The 50-30-20 rule is a good starting point.
I've heard of that. What is it again?
You allocate 50% of your income to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings and debt repayment.
Okay, I see. But to be honest, it always seemed a bit rigid to me. How do you account for unexpected expenses or those moments of spontaneous fun that life throws our way?
That's where the concept of mindful spending comes in. It's not about depriving yourself, but rather about making conscious choices about where your money goes.
Okay, so it's not about being a Scrooge.
Exactly. Before you buy anything, ask yourself 2 simple questions. Do I really need this? And can I get this cheaper somewhere else?
So it's about being intentional with our spending, weighing the value of a purchase against our long-term financial goals.
You got it. Even small changes, like making coffee at home instead of buying it every day, or taking advantage of free entertainment options instead of always going out, can add up significantly over time.
It's all about those small, consistent actions, right? They often have a bigger impact than we realize.
You're exactly right. Now let's talk about debt.
Okay, that's a big one.
It is. It's a reality for many people, especially in today's economic climate.
Absolutely. Student loans, credit card debt, it can feel overwhelming.
It can. So how does the 6-month savings accelerator address that?
Well, strategic debt management is another core element of this system.
What does that look like in practice?
High interest debt like credit cards can be a major drain on your finances. There are various methods for tackling debt effectively, like the debt snowball method, where you focus on paying off the smallest debts first to gain momentum, or the debt avalanche method, which prioritizes paying down debts with the highest interest rates first to save the most money on interest.
I've heard those terms thrown around, but I've never fully grasped the difference between them.
Yeah, it can be confusing, but we'll delve into those methods in more detail later in the episode.
So we've talked about saving what we have, spending more mindfully, and tackling debt strategically. But what about the income side of the equation? Can the 6-month savings accelerator help us boost our earning potential as well?
Absolutely. Income maximization is a key component of this system.
Okay, so it's not just about cutting back. It's about finding ways to earn more.
Exactly. This might involve exploring side hustles, negotiating a raise, or seeking out career advancement opportunities that align with your skills and interests.
So we've got these core strategies: automating savings, optimizing spending, being mindful with our purchases, managing debt strategically, and maximizing our income. It's a lot to take in. Where do we even begin to implement all of this?
That's where the structured implementation timeline comes in. The 6-month savings accelerator breaks down the process into 3 distinct phases: a 30-day quick start, a 60-day optimization, and a 90-day mastery.
Each phase has specific goals and actions designed to guide you through the process step by step.
Right. We don't just throw you in the deep end.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What does that look like in practice? Can you walk us through each phase?
The 30-day quick start is all about building a solid foundation. So we'll define your specific financial goals using tools like the savings calculator to determine exactly how much you need to save each month.
That sounds helpful. I'm not always great at crunching numbers.
Then we'll set up those automatic transfers to make saving effortless. And you'll choose a budgeting method that suits your lifestyle, whether it's the 50-30-20 rule or something else.
That's about finding what works for you.
And you'll start tracking your expenses to get a clear picture of where your money is going. It's about taking those initial steps and creating positive momentum.
Sounds like a great way to jumpstart the process. What happens after that initial push? What does the 60-day optimization phase entail?
So in the 60-day optimization phase, we take those initial steps and refine them even further. We analyze your spending patterns, identify areas where you can cut back without feeling deprived.
Okay, so we're talking about fine-tuning the budget.
And prioritize paying down high-interest debt to free up more cash flow. And we'll start exploring those income-boosting opportunities we talked about, like side hustles or negotiating a raise.
So it's like taking those initial steps and then fine-tuning them, getting more efficient. What's the 90-day mastery phase all about?
That's where we really solidify those good financial habits and set you up for long-term success. We revisit your budget and make any necessary adjustments, explore investments to help your money grow beyond basic savings.
So it's not just about saving, it's about making your money work for you.
Exactly. And we emphasize the importance of continuous learning and improvement.
It's a journey, not a destination, right? This all sounds great, but I'm a visual person. How do we actually track our progress and see the impact of these efforts in a concrete way?
That's where tools like the Progress Dashboard and ROI Calculator come in. They allow you to visualize your savings goals, debt reduction, and income growth all in one place.
Oh, I like that. It's like a visual representation of your progress.
Seeing those numbers increase can be incredibly motivating and help you stay on track.
Yeah, it's like getting that dopamine hit from watching your progress, like leveling up in a game. Okay, all of this is really helpful for building a strong financial foundation. But what about those who are already pretty good with their finances? Is there anything in the 6-month savings accelerator for them?
Absolutely. The 6-month savings accelerator provides a solid foundation, but we also delve into advanced optimization techniques to help you take your wealth building to the next level.
Okay, now we're talking. Here's where it gets really interesting. Tell me more about these advanced strategies.
One area we focus on is tax efficiency frameworks. You can significantly boost your after-tax returns by utilizing tax-advantaged accounts like 401ks and IRAs.
Can you explain what those are for listeners who might not be familiar with those terms?
A 401k is a retirement savings plan offered by employers allowing you to contribute pre-tax dollars, which reduces your current taxable income. An IRA or individual retirement account is a personal savings plan that offers tax advantages for retirement savings.
So they're both ways to save for retirement, but with some tax benefits.
Exactly. We also cover strategies for optimizing capital gains taxes and even employing tactics like tax loss harvesting.
So it's not just about how much you earn, but how much you keep after taxes.
You got it. Then we move on to investment strategy integration, which can seem daunting.
Investing can definitely feel intimidating.
But we break it down into manageable concepts.
Yeah.
This covers topics like asset allocation, which means spreading your investments across different asset classes like stocks, bonds, and real estate to manage risk.
So it's like not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. We also discuss dollar cost averaging, which involves investing consistently over time to ride out market fluctuations.
So you're not trying to time the market.
Right. And rebalancing, which means periodically adjusting your portfolio to maintain your desired risk level.
It sounds like there's a whole art and science to investing. Definitely something people should learn more about.
There is. And finally, we cover risk management principles, which are essential for protecting the wealth you've built.
Makes sense. You don't want to lose everything you've worked so hard for.
This includes establishing a solid emergency fund to handle unexpected expenses.
So you're prepared for those rainy days.
Making sure you have adequate insurance coverage to protect yourself and your loved ones, and even thinking about estate planning to ensure your assets are distributed according to your wishes.
It's like taking a holistic approach to your finances, building wealth, protecting what you've earned, and planning for the future. I love it. But, all of this sounds great in theory, but does it actually work in the real world?
That's a fair question, and the answer is a resounding yes. But don't just take our word for it. We've gathered some inspiring success stories from real people who have implemented these strategies and achieved remarkable results.
Okay, I love a good success story. Tell me about some of these people who have cracked the code to financial success using the 6-month savings accelerator.
Let's start with Sarah, a recent college graduate who was struggling under a mountain of student loan debt.
Oof, I think a lot of people can relate to that.
She was living paycheck to paycheck, and saving felt like an impossible dream.
It's so easy to fall into that trap when you're first starting out.
It is. But she was determined to build a $5,000 emergency fund to gain some financial stability and peace of mind.
That's a goal many young people can relate to. How did she manage to turn things around?
Sarah started by using the savings calculator we mentioned earlier.
The one that helps you figure out how much to save each month.
Yep. She input her current income expenses and her savings goal, and the calculator helped her determine that she needed to save $50 each week to reach her goal within a year.
It's amazing how breaking down a large goal into smaller chunks can make such a difference psychologically.
It really does. Then Sarah took that crucial step of automating her savings. She set up an automatic transfer from her checking account to a dedicated savings account every payday, so the money was saved before she even had a chance to spend it.
Out of sight, out of mind. Did she use any other strategies from the 6-month savings accelerator to help her reach her goal?
She did. Sarah also tracked her spending for a month, diligently categorizing every expense. She was surprised to discover how much money she was spending on takeout and dining out, often out of convenience or boredom, rather than genuine enjoyment.
It's so easy to fall into those spending patterns without even realizing it. What did Sarah do to change her habits?
She started packing her lunch more often, explored affordable meal prepping strategies, and discovered a newfound love for cooking at home.
So she turned a financial challenge into an opportunity for personal growth and culinary exploration. I love that. What were the results of her efforts? Did she manage to reach her savings goal?
She did. Within a year, Sarah not only achieved her $5,000 emergency fund goal, but she also developed a strong saving habit that has continued to benefit her. She told us that it completely changed her relationship with money and gave her a sense of control and security that she had never felt before.
That's incredible. It's proof that these strategies can work, even for someone starting from a challenging financial position. Sarah's story is truly inspiring. Do you have any other success stories to share that might resonate with our listeners?
Of course. Let's talk about John, a mid-career professional who was doing okay financially, but he felt like he was stuck in a rut and not making much progress towards his long-term financial goals, particularly saving for retirement.
I think many people in that stage of life can relate to that feeling. You're doing all right, but, you could be doing better. How did John break free from that financial plateau?
John realized that he needed a clearer picture of where his money was going. He started tracking his expenses for a month, and he was surprised to discover how much he was spending on dining out and entertainment.
It wasn't bringing him that much joy. It had just become a habit.
Exactly. And it was eating into his savings potential.
We've all been there. Those unconscious spending patterns can really sneak up on us. What steps did John take to change those habits?
John decided to implement the classic 50-30-20 budgeting rule that we discussed earlier.
The one where you allocate your income to needs, wants, and savings.
That's the one. He allocated 50% of his income to his essential expenses, like housing, utilities, and groceries. 30% went towards his wants, which included dining out, hobbies, and travel. And he committed to allocating 20% of his income towards savings and debt repayment.
It's a classic budgeting framework, but did it work for him?
It did. By consciously reducing his spending on non-essential items and diligently sticking to his budget, John freed up an extra $500 per month.
Wow, that's significant.
He started directing this money towards his retirement savings, significantly increasing his contributions to his 401k.
So he combined budgeting with a proactive approach to retirement planning. That's smart. Did John have any reservations about making these changes?
He did initially. He was worried that budgeting would make him feel deprived and restrict his enjoyment of life.
I think that's a common concern.
But what he discovered was quite the opposite. By making intentional choices about his spending, he actually felt more empowered and in control of his finances than ever before. He realized that he could achieve his financial goals without having to make drastic sacrifices to his lifestyle.
That's a great point. It's not about deprivation. It's about aligning your spending with your values and priorities and making conscious choices that support your long-term well-being. It sounds like John made significant changes to his financial habits and his mindset. Do you have any success stories that might resonate with someone who's already pretty savvy with their money management?
We do. Let's talk about Maria, a successful entrepreneur who was already earning a high income but wanted to optimize her finances even further.
So she was already doing well, but she wanted to level up her financial game even further. What specific strategies did she focus on?
Maria realized that she could be more strategic with her taxes to accelerate her wealth building. She began maximizing her contributions to her 401k and opened a Roth IRA to take advantage of the tax-free growth potential it offered.
That's a smart move. Many people don't realize how much of an impact tax optimization can have on their long-term financial success.
Did Maria implement any other strategies?
She did.
Yeah.
Maria decided to work with a financial advisor who specialized in tax-efficient investing.
So she got some expert guidance.
Together, they developed a personalized investment strategy that aligned with her risk tolerance, long-term goals, and tax situation. She learned about the benefits of asset dollar cost averaging and rebalancing, and she started investing a portion of her income into a diversified portfolio of stocks, bonds, and real estate.
It sounds like she took a very strategic and informed approach to investing. Did she see positive results?
Absolutely. By implementing these strategies, Maria was able to significantly increase her after-tax returns, meaning she kept more of her hard-earned money.
So she was working smarter, not harder? This allowed her to accelerate her progress toward achieving her financial goals, which included early retirement and financial independence. She told us that while it took effort to learn about these concepts and put them into practice, it was well worth it in the end.
It's inspiring to see how Maria took control of her financial future by seeking out expert advice and implementing strategies that aligned with her goals. Do you have any other success stories that highlight the diversity of people who can benefit from the 6-month Savings Accelerator?
Of course. Let's talk about David and Jessica, a young couple who were dreaming of buying their first home.
I bet a lot of our listeners can relate to that.
They both had decent jobs, but saving for a down payment in their competitive housing market felt like an insurmountable challenge. They were feeling discouraged, but they were determined to find a way to make their home ownership dream a reality.
That's a situation so many couples can relate to. Homeownership can feel like a distant dream, especially for young people starting out. How did David and Jessica approach this financial challenge?
They decided to implement the principles of the 6-month Savings Accelerator, and their first step was to create a detailed budget. They meticulously tracked their expenses for a month, identifying areas where they could cut back without sacrificing their quality of life.
Okay, so they got really clear on their spending habits.
They discovered that they were spending more than they realized on subscription services they rarely used and dining out on weeknights.
It's amazing how those seemingly small expenses can add up. What changes did they make to their spending habits?
They decided to cut back on unnecessary subscriptions and commit to cooking at home more often during the week. They even started having potluck nights with friends as a fun and affordable way to socialize.
I love that. Turning a financial challenge into an opportunity for connection and creativity. Did they make any other changes to their financial habits?
They did. They also decided to explore ways to increase their income. Jessica started freelancing in her spare time, utilizing her writing skills to take on some side projects.
So they were looking for creative ways to bring in extra cash.
David, who was passionate about fitness, started teaching a weekly workout class at a local community center.
So they were attacking their financial goal from both sides, reducing expenses and increasing their income. Did they manage to reach their down payment savings goal?
They did. By consistently applying the principles of the 6-month Savings Accelerator for a year, they were able to save a significant amount for their down payment. They also learned valuable financial management skills that they'll continue to use throughout their lives. And the best part is they achieved their goal without feeling deprived or sacrificing their enjoyment of life.
That's fantastic. Their story is a testament to the power of dedication, teamwork, and creative problem solving. It's so inspiring to hear about these diverse individuals who have achieved financial success using the 6-month Savings Accelerator. Their stories really highlight the fact that these strategies can work for anyone, regardless of their background or current financial situation.
They do. And we've only scratched the surface. We have a whole section on our website dedicated to showcasing inspiring success stories from people of all ages, income levels, and backgrounds.
I love that we're highlighting that diversity. It's important for people to see themselves reflected in these stories and realize that financial success is attainable for everyone.
Exactly. And we encourage our listeners to share their own stories as well. Your experience could inspire and motivate others who are just starting their financial journeys.
That's a great call to action. It's all about paying it forward and supporting each other on this path towards financial well-being. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from exploring the core strategies of the 6-month Savings Accelerator to diving into inspiring success stories.
We have, and we still got more to come. In part 3, we'll be wrapping up this detailed examination with a clear action plan to help you get started on your own wealth-building journey.
I am excited to delve into that action plan. But before we move on, I want to take a moment to address something important that we've touched on throughout this episode.
Of course, what's on your mind?
We've talked a lot about the importance of income maximization, but I know that this topic can be a source of stress and discouragement for some people, especially given the current economic climate.
You're absolutely right. It's important to acknowledge that there are external factors like the job market, industry trends, and global events that can impact our income potential.
Exactly. And it's not always easy or even possible to just snap our fingers and magically increase our income overnight. I think it's crucial for our listeners to hear that message.
Absolutely. It's not about setting unrealistic expectations, but rather about empowering yourself to take proactive steps to increase your earning potential over time.
So it's about focusing on what we can control, like our skills, our mindset, and our willingness to learn and adapt to the evolving job market.
Exactly. It's about embracing a growth mindset and exploring opportunities to develop new skills, enhance your existing talents, and network with people in your field.
I love that. It's about taking ownership of our careers and actively shaping our financial futures. And we'll be talking more about specific actions you can take to boost your income in part 3 of this detailed examination. But for now, I just wanted to make sure that we acknowledge that it's not always easy and that there are external factors at play.
I appreciate that. It's important to be realistic, but it's equally important to maintain a sense of hope and possibility. There are always things we can do to improve our circumstances and create a more secure financial future for ourselves.
Well said. Okay, so with that in mind, we'll be back in part 3 to wrap things up and equip you with an action plan to start implementing these strategies in your own life. Until then, keep those financial goals in mind, and remember, even small changes can lead to big results over time. All right, so welcome back to the show. It's time to put it all together and create that action plan to help you start doubling your wealth using what we've learned about the 6-month savings accelerator.
Yeah, we don't want to just leave you hanging with all this information. We're going to give you a step-by-step roadmap so you can actually start putting these strategies into practice today.
Exactly. We're all about taking action. So let's break it down. Where should someone start if they're feeling a bit overwhelmed but ready to make a change?
Well, we've created a quick start checklist that kind of summarizes the key actions from that 30-day quick start phase we discussed in part 1. It's a simple roadmap to get you going in the right direction.
Perfect for those who are ready to just dive in. What are some of the most important things on that checklist?
Well, first things first, define your financial goals. Whether it's building an emergency fund, saving for a down payment on a house, or maybe planning for early retirement.
Yeah, have that clear target in mind.
Exactly. Having that goal in mind, it keeps you motivated and focused. What's next? Automate your savings.
Yes. Put it on autopilot.
Exactly. Set up those automatic transfers from your checking account to your savings account so you don't even have to think about it. And, even a small amount can make a big difference over time.
That's the beauty of compound interest.
Yeah.
Really adds up. What about budgeting? Any tips for making that less daunting?
Budgeting doesn't have to be a scary thing. We actually have tons of budgeting resources on our website, including downloadable worksheets and templates. You can try out different methods like the 50-30-20 rule or zero-based budgeting, whatever works best for you.
So find a system that you can actually stick with.
Right.
We also talked about managing debt. Are there any resources for people who are struggling with that?
Absolutely. Our website has a whole section on debt management with strategies for prioritizing high-interest debt repayment, exploring debt consolidation options, and even negotiating with creditors to lower interest rates or monthly payments.
That's amazing. So much good stuff on the website. And what about for those who are ready to level up and explore more advanced strategies like investing? Do you have resources for that too?
Yep, we do. Our website has a resource directory that links to reputable investment platforms, educational websites, and even books and articles to help you learn more and get started with investing.
It's like having a whole library of financial knowledge at your fingertips. And we didn't forget about the importance of community support, right?
Oh, definitely not. We still have that awesome online community we mentioned before.
The one where people can connect with others who are on the same journey.
Yeah, it's a great place to share your experiences, ask questions, get support, and celebrate your successes.
That's so important. Having that community can really make a difference. Okay, so we've got the quick start checklist, the resource directory, and the community forum. What else should people keep in mind as they embark on this journey?
Well, the most